I hope everybody enjoyed lunch. It's a bit of a shock to the system to have lunch in such nice surroundings with a local government officer. I'm used to the chip van just over behind the bin lorries. So it's always nice to get a wee treat. We thank the Life Changes Trust for that. So you now get an extended period of adults and tones that you have to put up with. From my own point of view, worked at training standards since I was about 19. In the last few years, I switched over to prevention and managed a prevention team. The prevention team was tasked with only dealing with preventative elements. It didn't at that stage combine enforcement as well. Training standards and the prevention elements were both separate. We have now rectified that, and I think it's a much better balance. So we're looking forward to combining prevention and enforcement. So I'm going to talk today about simple, practical solutions. We've heard some of the enforcement context, which I wouldn't even attempt to compete with, from Ruth and Michelle. But from our own point of view, a few years ago, I remember a particular incident where somebody actually threatened to take their own life following losing all their life savings to scams. And it had been a particularly difficult time, a lot of people losing significant amounts of money. And I went to adult protection and social work, and we decided we needed to do things differently. And that was the start of a journey that involved really maximising the prevention potential. 9 billion, it's estimated, lost to scams every year by UK residents. We've heard some of the issues: doorstep callers, scam mail, nuisance and scam telephone calls, online fraud, demand scams, investment fraud, etc, etc. What we looked at is developing bespoke prevention packages tailored to the individuals. Now, there's a lot of work in networking in your local community to find out who's in challenging situations. The team carried out extensive work within the area, talks at an unprecedented levels. We popped up like jack-in-the-boxes everywhere. And whether it's small groups in sheltered housing, whether it's large groups, events that were often arranged by third-party partners, we tended to go where people already were. We tend to find that if you set up a stand and expected people to come, especially at a pre-given time to speak to you or get your information, they're too busy and weren't interested. But if you went to a shopping centre where people were going about the business, it was guaranteed you were going to interact with hundreds, if not thousands, of people in that day, rather than saying I stood all day in a hall and spoke to 15 people. One of the first things was the no cold calling stickers. No cold calling stickers should not just be given to vulnerable people within areas. It can actually act as a flag as such. What we done was, I reckon we probably printed off about 50,000 in East Renfrewshire. I'm not saying they're on every door, but some streets are on virtually every door, so it doesn't act as a flag. But what it very much lets people do is take charge of their doorstep and say straight away if a fraudster, a home maintenance fraudster, chaps at door, the person's backs up straight away because they think you don't respect my wishes. You've already ignored my no cold calling sticker. Although I totally accept if somebody's in an isolated situation and they're craving company, then all of these prevention interventions are often not enough. I remember a story going out with one of my colleagues, Jeff, going into a house to take a statement in my enforcement days after somebody had been ripped off for about £25,000 in a roofing scam, and we went in trying to take a statement. And the woman flipped open the piano, started banging away and singing away, wanting us to join in. And ironically, the song was Hey Big Spender. A bit ironic considering it was our own money that was going. But we totally got the idea that she wasn't interested in spending that time, that opportunity for an interaction and giving statements. She was craving social company and social interaction. Blocking scam and nuisance calls, it's been one of the most enjoyable things I've worked on. We have blocked about 750,000 nuisance calls in East Renfrewshire. We've got over 1,000 prevention packages in place, and the packages are quite diverse. Installing doorstep cameras, great hearing Michelle talking about that element. I totally agree, Keith mentioned that as well. I totally agree, it's another way forward in the prevention package, and it's something that we are currently looking at the moment. We're keeping our eye out to see what the best technology is to use, but I absolutely think that's a great way to protect people in challenging situations from doorstep fraud. Access to reputable trusted traders. I think it's great that Scots recently have extended the trusted trader to bring together all the council approved trusted trader schemes under one portal. Several years ago, the Audit Scotland looked at trading standards and said it was too fragmented. Nobody could understand where they were going. So bringing those trusted traders together in one place is excellent. We're also telling people, obviously, that a number of different advice on how to get reputable traders. It's not all trusted traders aren't the be-all and end-all, but they're an important tool in the bag. Stop scam and junk mail. It's the understanding that we're trying to spread along health and social care partners, third sector, etc. If somebody's a victim of scam mail, advice isn't going to help normally. There's quite often a brainwashed effect that they don't want people getting involved or interfering in any way, shape or form. And if people start to understand that it involves transferring the mail maybe to a carer, somebody with power of attorney, and doing all the other steps that you can to reduce scam and unwanted junk mail. Safe online guidance. We know the future in terms of online, the challenges that that's going to pose. Get Safe Scotland, get excellent information available. Such a challenging area. Our local Citizens Advice Bureau have a Hero Award, a Hero project that helps people to buy safely online and understand how to shop online. I think young people have got a great part to play in that as well. Education to schools, school kids helping their own grandparents and older people in the community or anybody that's not literate online. Reducing social isolation. So often you'll find that when people are victim of financial harm, they're social isolated and lonely. So you really can deal with one way or the other. The softer, we're not social workers and trading standards, but it's very easy to make referrals to the right people, either social work or the third sector. So we hand out information on local classes, and we will ask people, what are you interested in? I used to do that, but I've not really get out and about now. Arrange for people in the appropriate places to pick up that person and take them to an art class, or we'll get folk playing golf, thought they couldn't still golf. That softer side is really important, and it takes 2 minutes to tick a box and find out and make the referrals on. Scam awareness sessions. Lou will be interested in talking about that. Quite often I'll be thinking about it, thinking, how can we tackle this next? And then I'll come around and I'll find that Lou and her team's already got a toolkit online that we can use. And from that point of view, there's e-learning. E-learning to become scam aware. Everybody, whether you're a professional or not, should be doing that, I think, and encouraging other people within our local authorities and school kids and everything else. We had 1,500 kids, primary sons, going through a scam awareness session in Safety in the Park recently. Educating. There's not enough of us to do it all ourselves, so we need to train the trainers to become scam ambassadors. Friends Against Scams is another example of that. And the doorstep trader checks is the harder edge, the enforcement, the intel side of things, and really in Scotland that's where we're going to have the biggest challenge to get back to that and hopefully get the funding that we need to progress real effective enforcement work. So, we'd already started on our journey of prevention in East Renfrewshire, and funding was a real issue. Albeit people realise the importance and the value of what you're doing, there's no funding available within local authorities quite often. And that's where the Life Changes Trust come in. I will be eternally grateful for their faith they put in us. I've found them to be exceptionally professional, hard working, and they really just move at a level, keep things going. Today would never have happened if it wasn't for Life Changes Trust. So between East Renfrewshire, Angus and South Ayrshire, they put out faith in us to the tune of £450,000 over a 3-year project. I hope that we've returned a lot for that money, and we are droves of feedback from individuals that say the difference that it's made. We'll show you a video at the end as well. Difficult to see that from here, but it shows what our main aims were within the project, and social isolation, removing the social isolation is definitely an element of that. Raising awareness, all the things that I've talked about, and very personal prevention packages. You look at it and think you don't have time, to go to an individual's house and put these packages in place. I'd ask the question, which takes longer? That visit to the house, when you put the prevention package in place, or investigating, following the incident taking place, plus potentially you've removed the hardship, all the stress. I know that I'm sure Ruth used very creative ways of getting statements from people in challenging situations, but quite often I've seen situations where somebody's cited as a witness following a doorstep crime case. They don't sleep that well that night, they get all het up and think tomorrow's the day I'm going to give them evidence, and as we all know, investigators and police in here, what was it, I read something the other day, it's like 1 out of 10 police officers who turn up at court actually end up giving evidence. I think things are starting to improve, but so often you're cited, you sit about and then don't give evidence. So we're really keen in trying to solve the problem or prevent the problem. So we've identified that living with dementia can increase the risk. Hard for us to believe, but or hard for the public to believe, but we know that organised criminals will actively mark individuals' houses that are soft touches, so that their other colleagues can identify the weakness and know they've got a potential source of revenue. So some of the things that we looked at, don't delay preventative actions. We have tirelessly made the point, don't hide behind data protection regulation. We want the names of the people that are living in East Renfrewshire, who are living with dementia, in the community, so we can proactively offer the advice before they're ripped off and put the packages in place. Repeatedly I've been at talks like this where somebody stood up and said, well, I wish I'd known this before because my husband got ripped off for 25 grand, and if I'd known about this. And now we've actually made a breakthrough that we've worked really closely with Telecare, and we're going to make sure that in compliance with GDPR we can actively speak to all the people on that list, and there's 3,500, I would estimate about 800 of them are living with dementia. We'll proactively contact all of those individuals and offer them the support package. It's going to be a lot of work, it's going to be difficult for us to do it timely, but I think that's absolutely crucial. Stopping all on, trying to react to scams as they come in is like sticking your finger in the dike. So we try to be more about stopping the sources of the information coming in. Call blockers have been exceptionally positive. No cold calling stickers on the doorstep. Mobile preference service. Some of these things don't work 100%, but if you put all these different things in place, then it makes a huge difference. Including, we can't underestimate the importance of power of attorney. Now, a lot of people will say, we'll arrange a power of attorney, and they don't actually get round to doing it anytime soon. But do you know what you can do straight away? If it was my mum, I'm worried about my mum, I'll say, Mum, go on, let's go along to the bank and have a look. And I'll say, my mum's recently been diagnosed with dementia. Put a flag in a bank account to say that she's at risk from scams. See if my mum does then lose money, there is an increased level of diligence on the bank, and my mum's much more likely to get her money back. We put that to the test and successfully got money back for people that have been scammed when they had flags on their bank account. So that's just a simple, practical thing that you can do that makes a real difference. I was really excited. It's changed so much with the banks. I remember doing training with all the banks, before the bank protocol came in, going with the local police, doing interventions, doing talks, same thing was happening. We went after them and said, why did you still hand over 10 grand in cash, after we done that training? Why didn't you ask the question, go away, we're not speaking to you? speak to a head office, mouth closed. See the difference now, the banks, it's red carpet, they're so much more receptive, to the point of view that TSB recently announced that anybody that is a victim of scams will automatically be refunded. There's a couple of bits of small print, but there's not a lot, and if other banks follow that example, that would be one of the major probably the biggest breakthrough that were made, but that's not enough. If we have organised criminals who still think, well, that's fine, they'll get it back from the bank, we can't avoid the enforcement element. The other thing we would say, and Ruth would verify this, is it's quite concerning if we've got these organised criminals that go to people's houses and they don't have to go to the bank. £5,000 just arrives from somewhere in the house. There is background information and intel that shows that household is likely to be burgled at a later stage. So don't keep large amounts of cash in the home is another message that we spread. So mentioned some of this, but we've got over 1,000 confidence at home packs in East Renfrewshire, 750,000 nuisance calls have been blocked. We've reduced financial loss, and that's now been verified from independent economists. It runs into millions of pounds. And I stress again that this isn't a cost, this is an investment. If you are putting money into scam prevention and enforcement, the government and society and individuals will reap the benefits in terms of cost-benefit analysis. We've got exceptionally positive feedback. One of the ones that sticks in my mind is one of the first call blockers and packages we put in place. The guy phoned me up and said, look, I've been given your name. My mum's living with dementia. She says yes to everybody. He says anybody that phones her up, she invites them out. He says that my sister and I constantly spend half our time unravelling what she signed up to. And he said, I turned up the other day, she was about to sign up for double glazing. He said, she lives in a new flat. He said, it's ridiculous, I think I'm going to have to put her into care. And we said, look, well, let's give you a list of reputable trusted traders. If there are any doubt, you can phone ourselves and we'll fit a call blocker. And that woman managed an extra 4 years living independently. It was back in 2014. She managed the extra 4 years before going into care. I think we spent about, between her time and call blocker, whatever else, under £300. And when you do the cost-benefit analysis on that one individual alone, the money she was losing to scams, staying out of care, you were running into about £250,000. That one case is paid, more than paid for everything that my team spent throughout the whole 4 years in terms of prevention. And that starts escalating. The more you get into this field, the more you'll see similar stories coming back. We send out, we fit an average of 180 packages a year, prevention packages that will involve call blockers, etc. We get returns back from roughly about 130 of them when we send out a feedback return. Those return rates are outstanding, and that's because people, we'll tell them, please feedback to us so we can help more people, but people are so grateful to feel that they've reduced that stress and anxiety and risk, trips and falls attached to it. The softer side of just trying to make your dinner while caring for somebody as well, you know, when you're constantly getting interrupted. So we have absolutely droves of evidence. And there's a video on our website as well that talks about the help of the team that his mother would have been living in care. So what can you do locally? Well, you can raise awareness about scams, you can encourage the report of scams, you can protect people at risk with simple practical solutions like we've talked about. I would say everyone mobilise armies in your area, get police volunteers, get school kids to start doing community events, become a friend against scams, e-learning scam awareness courses. All the school kids can be doing these. You can have a competition with the school kids to see who can come up with the best prevention event. It's not an excuse to say we don't have enough people. There is a whole community we can mobilise. We already talked about reducing social isolation and raising awareness among decision makers. One of the important things, I've been to so many events that we're preaching to the converted, everybody that's there's already bought into it. What we try to do is raise awareness amongst decision makers. Through the cross-party working group in dementia, we managed to instigate a debate in the Scottish Parliament about the scale of the problem. I was really impressed with the MSPs and their knowledge of the subject. They had done their research, they talked the talk, and now we're really keen to see with the Scottish Government strategy whether we're going to walk the walk. So we absolutely need to invest in financial harm prevention and enforcement. Some of the stats, since 2017 when we embarked on the project between the three authorities, we blocked almost 300,000 nuisance calls as part of that project. 337 scams have been prevented, 728 packages put in place. Unbelievable amount of community engagement and interaction that's taken place, raising the profile, events like today. Part of our remit was to raise awareness of the issue, get people together, and that's very much part of the project, and it's been a real pleasure to work on. Some of the national figures we covered earlier across Scotland. Can I just say that all these slides will be made available via the Life Changes Trust, so rather than emailing them round, you'll be able to go to a one-stop shop and all the presentations will be there, so long as the presenters are happy to share them. So what's the future? Education awareness, establish multi-agency safeguarding teams. I think Bruce's model is the way forward, combining enforcement and prevention together with proper investment. Planned activities in terms of home maintenance fraud. We work in great relationship, as I said, with Police Scotland. We do it sporadically. We're planning on getting more organised and really having honest discussions about what our capacity is, what our challenges are. Again, it comes back to the situation that although we've got willingness locally, our problem is that the guys are having to pick up murders and robberies and everything else. How can we get to that point of view that we've got dedicated people involved? And create easy access to person-centred prevention packages. Absolutely, you have to hammer the drum that this isn't a cost, we're investing to save. And the scale, we all know, most people in this room know the scale of this problem. We talked about, what was it, 5% we reckon we reported? We've seen, we've been in the living rooms and the houses, and we're aware of the scale of the problem, we're aware of the effects on people, but it goes so far beyond financial harm. I've dealt with umpteen cases where I've returned after somebody's lost a pile of money and they have absolutely dropped off a cliff in terms of their well-being and their confidence. And quite regularly, I've seen situations, you go back to the house, they're not in that house anymore, they've been moved into care. We've got a short video, and I think it's much better to hear. I get my trumpet out and banging the drum. Folk get sick of listening to me. I get sick of listening to myself actually. But we've made a video, Hee-Haw video company helped put this together at very, very short notice. You'll see the nick of me on it. I thought it was going to be used as a mock-up scammer. They end up interviewing me, so I look a bit like the local Jake in it. So, but I think they've done a really good job, so we'll just play that now. Thanks. Several years ago, we had been reactive to situations. People were being scammed and ripped off. Some devastating cases. I can think of one in particular where a man lost £130,000 to a white investment scam following a telephone call. It was some real harrowing cases in a short period of time that made us review the way we work and decide to shift our preventative model.
My husband was diagnosed in 2018 as having Alzheimer's. Coping with my husband's condition creates a great deal of anxiety and stress. We just never know what could happen if somebody is a professional scammer and actually tries to cheat us in any way.
My mother is probably no different to a lot of older people who become a more attractive target for people that want to do scams. So whether it's people that are going to cold call at the door or whether it's people that are going to call her up.
What we started doing was developing confidence at home packages, which involved things like no cold calling stickers, so people had the confidence to take charge of their doorstep.
Unfortunately, it was a young man came and was wanting to sell. I'm a retired teacher, so I gave him the cold eye as well and said, can you not read?
So we absolutely switched the way we work. That involved a number of different things. Attaching people onto trusted traders, fitting call blocking equipment, which was massively successful. All things designed to lock people down from unwanted contacts and prevent them being scammed.
I now have confidence here in that I know that when the phone actually rings, it will either be a member of the family or friends or somebody who is officially allowed to phone us.
I can go out now and know that we don't have any unwanted calls. Since it's been installed, we haven't had one.
I found it very useful. We, in actual fact, have recommended it to other friends.
So this has created a much better state of mind and has improved my sense of safety.